This episode is sponsored by the Body Image Upgrade, a 30-day course helping you rebuild your relationship with your body. Tools, resources, and daily exercises to upgrade your body image. Learn more at bodyimageupgrade.com and enter the code podcast for 50% off. Welcome to Breaking Body Biases, a podcast about creating health and happiness without worrying about your weight. I'm Christine DeFilippis, certified fitness professional, studio owner, and creator of FitPro Ed, an online education platform for group fitness instructors. Join me every week as I interview fellow fitness pros, dietitians, wellness practitioners, and a wealth of others who are sharing their journey and helping to destroy diet culture. Welcome to episode 12 of the Breaking Body Biases podcast. This is Christine DeFilippis, your host, and I'm so grateful to have you here as part of this community. Do you ever have a question that you're dying to ask one of our guests, or maybe you're thinking about a comment or question for myself? You can now ask questions and even be featured right on our show. So you go to breakingbodybiases.com, and on either along the side of our website or at the bottom, depending on what kind of device you're on, you click on send a voicemail, and you can record a short question or comment and ask any of our guests or myself, and hopefully you'll be featured in a future episode. We can't wait to hear from you. Now, remember that each and every episode is featured on its own blog page right on that website. There's lots of resources there, including the transcript and contact information for each of our guests. And we even put together a great resources page for the blog, for our entire library of blogs. Includes all the books that are mentioned in different podcasts and lots of really great resources. And in fact, we have something we are working on right now behind the scenes, and I can't wait to share with you what that is. But for now, we're going to keep that under wraps. We're going to share with that information with you in a little bit. If you're enjoying our show, please be sure to follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps more people find our little show. And this week I have a trainer, intuitive eating coach on our show, Shreen Masry, and she's a non-diet, of course, body inclusive and health at every size trainer, and as well as a certified intuitive eating counselor. And she is the owner of Be You, Be Free, and it's a non-diet, body-positive fitness and wellbeing community located in Sydney, Australia. Shreen struggled with dieting, body image. You're going to hear her story that started at a very young age. But it wasn't until she migrated to Australia from the UK about a decade ago that her physical and mental health deteriorated. She developed depression, anxiety, and an eating disorder. Her turning point came when a counselor had warned her that she might have to be hospitalized under the Mental Health Act. This pushed her into recovery, where she discovered intuitive eating, health at every size, and a non-diet community. She became educated in all of this, and it became her passion. The combination of all these aspects really led to her recovery, and it really was a life-changing experience, and you're going to hear her experiences and what she's doing now with Be You, Be Free. She's so passionate. She promotes body inclusivity, and she helps so many people break free from dieting. She helps women heal their relationships with food, exercising, and their body. But mostly, she helps women exercise from a place of joy and fun and nourishment, and as a tool for self-care and our own mental health rather than for punishment. Shreen's mission is to change the narrative around fitness and diet culture. I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's get into it now. So welcome, Shreen, to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I love your accent. You're going to have to share with our listeners where you're from, where you're living now.
Well, I'm actually from England, but I live in Australia now. So I moved to Sydney about 11 years ago. But so my accent's a little bit of a blend between being British and Australian. But depending on who you speak to, like my family at home are like, "Yeah, you're so Aussie now," whereas Australians are like, "Nah, you're so English." But it's a beautiful place to live, Sydney. So yeah, really grateful to live here and be here.
Definitely a place on my bucket list to go after COVID. After all this passes, I'm going to have to come for a visit. So
Yeah, come for a visit.
let's start with your story, because I know I've interviewed a lot of people in fitness and nutrition, and no one ever starts out knowing what they know now. We all are born into this diet culture world. So talk to us about where you started, where your journey from where you were to where you are now.
So my earliest memory was when I was about 7 years old, and my teacher asked me, what, if you had a genie in a bottle, what would you wish for? And I thought for a moment, and then I replied saying, I'd wish to be skinny. And even at 7 years old, I'd already received the message that being skinny would bring me all the things that I had seen on TV, like a husband, a career, popularity, travel. But it wasn't until I was 13 years old that I went on my first diet. And that was actually after seeing the movie There's Something About Mary with Cameron Diaz. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yes.
But she was in that film. She was like my 7-year-old genie dream. She was so popular. She had this career. Everyone in the movie was in love with her. And I remember coming out the film and I ran straight to the chemist to buy Slim Fast shakes. And that was the first diet I went on. And from then on, I went on diet after diet after diet. And all it did actually was make me gain weight. And I always blame myself. I thought there was something wrong with me. But it was actually, I was weight shamed on 2 occasions. One by a shop assistant. I was being measured for a bridesmaid dress. And they didn't have my size in store. They had to get it specially made. And she weight shamed me then. And then the second time was actually for my Australian visa. When I moved here, you have to have a medical to get your visa. And I'm just going to do like air quotes, obese on the BMI category. And he told me that if I didn't lose weight, I probably wouldn't get my visa to live in Australia. So that comment, those 2 comments sent me on the diet that led me to an eating disorder. And my turning point was I was living in Australia. Things had got really bad over here, and I was getting help and I was seeking treatment, but things were not getting better for me. They were just getting worse. And my counselor turned around and said to me that she was going to hospitalise me. And I was like, well, you can't do that. I'm from the UK. I was 27 years old at the time. And she's like, yes, I can. I can section you under the Mental Health Act, and I will section you if you don't get better. So that was the turning point that I needed. And from that moment, I was like, I can't go into hospital. This dieting and this eating disorder has taken so much of my life already. I just can't let it take any more. So that's when I threw myself into recovery, and I learned everything I could. That's where I discovered Health Every Size, Christy Harrison's Food Psych podcast, which I think a lot of people discover first off. And the Intuitive Eating book and the Health Every Size book I found by Lindo Bacon. And yeah, it was just absolute life-changing for me. And from then it led me to a full recovery. But I mean, I did fall down a few times along the way. I think I definitely fell into what Christy Harrison likes to call the wellness trap, but which I think a lot of us do that, but managed to make a full recovery. And when I got better, I just wanted to help others. And I just felt like I'd been through this for a reason. So I decided to have a career change and go back to university, become a body inclusive personal trainer and certified intuitive eating counsellor. And then I set up BUB Free, which is a body positive community here in Sydney. And now I help women all around the world break free from dieting.
Wow. So much to talk about there, because I know that a lot of listeners, a lot of myself included, did things like you had mentioned, like we blame ourselves. And then that body shaming that happens is just so common that puts us into like a tailspin, and then we continue to blame ourselves. And I'm so glad that someone was able to direct you into recovery, because I think for many people, I mean, I'm not sure how long that span of time is, but I know for most of us, we'd like it to be far shorter than it was, like when we're in this really dark place, and many don't get the help that they need. So I'm happy that that at least you're in a better place now. Was your exercise, because you're a personal trainer now, so you train people, was your exercise any different than it is now? Like what kind of exercise were you doing back in the day?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my relationship to exercise is probably just as complicated as my relationship to food. Trying to explain it. So it started off really well when I was a child of like joyful movement. I have so many happy memories of like rollerblading and building cubby holes. And then it was probably when I was at school, I actually hated exercise, and then PE teachers would force me to do it, and I'll do everything I could to get out of it. And then it was my biological dad forced me to go down the gym when I was about 14 years old, because he told me I was fat and I needed to lose weight. And that kind of started my obsession with exercise to lose weight, which then developed over the years into a full-blown exercise addiction, which was really one of the biggest parts of my eating disorder as well. I guess I think I'm not sure if it's a clinical term, exercise bulimia, but where I would only exercise to earn or burn food. I wouldn't feel deserving to eat if I didn't exercise in the morning. And then even though I was recovered, I thought I was recovered from my eating disorder, a few years later, I was finally ready to have a baby, and I came off birth control and actually discovered I had a condition called Hypophyllic Amenorrhea, which is HA for short. I don't know if you know across that. So this is where your hypothalamus temporarily shuts down from, it's mostly due to stress, over exercise and dieting. So even though I thought I was recovered, my body clearly wasn't. And I was still, even though I wasn't exercising to the same extent, I was still exercising a lot. Because it's very normalized in here where I live in Sydney. There's very much that culture of like exercising every day and doing all those HIIT classes and things. So it was very normal. So I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. But because of this condition, and in order to get pregnant, I had to stop all high intensity exercise altogether and gain more weight until my body felt safe enough. So that was the thing that really healed my relationship to exercise, because it really made me realize, that I hadn't really recovered that addiction, and that you don't have to exercise this way. And it's not normal exercising 6 days a week and doing all those classes, and it actually adds extra stress to your body. And, when you're exercising in that mindset, it's actually worse for your health than it is better for your health. And it's much more beneficial to exercise from a place of nourishment and for joy, and to listen to your body and to honor your body. And I guess with all the intuitive eating work I was doing, I was really able to just transform that relationship as well to where it is today, which is part of the reason with becoming a body inclusive personal trainer, is that I help women, show them how they can exercise for self-care and how you can just have fun with it. I mean, we dance a lot, we hula hoop, we we play a lot of like childhood games like charades and things like that. So it's really, really fun. So that's kind of my mission now, is just to help everyone have a much more joyful relationship with movement.
Yeah, because so many people don't realize how harmful overexercise. You think that exercising is something that is healthy to do, but there is an extreme that you can get to and have health problems like you had. And many other, I'm sure, listeners have had health problems. I've been hospitalized because of overexercising. And people just don't realize how very harmful that abuse on your body is. So just talking about that and helping people.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I guess it's diet culture as well. It's that, all those toxic fitness messages that we hear, like, no pain, no gain, no rest days, go hard or go home, those awful, awful sayings that we've all grown up with. And, you think you're doing the right thing. You think that's what it's supposed to be, but it's not, as we know, as we learn, that, you say it's worse for your health, and it can cause excessive stress, and overtraining can cause all loads of hormonal imbalances, of course, like loss of period, like for me, fertility issues, things like insomnia, waking up to pee in the night all the time is a sign that you're over exercising, getting tired, fatigued really easily, injuries, things like that. So, our bodies are pretty smart. It's just, yeah. And I guess with this whole process, we just learning how to listen to our body and honor its needs.
Yeah, our body is very smart, but we do have to listen. And that's that all intuitive thing that you were saying about, even about intuitive eating, intuitive exercise, all that tuning back in. But it's hard, as you mentioned, fitness professionals are saying these terms and motivational, air quotes, motivational things that I'd like to really see like a master list of all the things that fitness professionals need to stop saying, like the no pain, no gain, like you had mentioned. And there's probably a list. So maybe we can all get together and put our do not say list that needs to be abolished in the fitness industry. So let's talk about healing that relationship, because you've obviously done a lot of work in healing your relationship with exercise, and you do work. So how would you help someone that has, maybe from a place that you've come from, that has a bad relationship with exercise? How do you heal that relationship?
I think the first thing is just to show them the research and, the truth, learn the truth about exercise, and that you don't need to exercise every day, and that exercise doesn't have to be structured, doesn't have to be measured or timed. It can be absolutely anything you want it to be. And there's no rules with it. And also knowing that all forms of movement, doesn't matter what it is, it has health benefits, because that's something I didn't, I had that idea that I had to be really to be sweating for it to work. But again, that's just a myth. So the first thing is like unpacking all those myths. And then the second thing is to really help them work out what it is they enjoy, because sometimes when you're in that mindset, so I'm sure you may have experienced, you think you're enjoying all that real intense. Like for me, I used to think I liked high intensity classes, but I don't. I absolutely hate them. So I think I convinced myself that I did like them. So it's just really working out how, what exercise they enjoy. So I get them to jot down, the type of exercise, the duration, the frequency, things like that. But the fun thing I like to do is do what I call the circle of movement. So they write down all the movement activities they used to do when they were a child, things like rollerblading, trampolining, and things that they think they would enjoy now as well. And I get them to circle all the ones that they would like to try, and then just to pick one each week, and then switch one sort of punishable workout with a fun workout. And then that is usually a good kind of slow stepping point to see how movement can be fun. But if you're really in that exercise addiction, then I suggest just taking small steps to reduce your workout. So like for me personally, I always used to have to hit a set time or number or calories burnt or things like that. And it's just slowly each week reducing that down. So say if you run for an hour, it's reducing that down to 55 minutes, 50 minutes. And then as you feel comfortable and confident, keep reducing that down, and then just keep sort of learning about again, the truth about exercise, and just learning to connect to your body and what you actually enjoy and feels good to you. I think they're definitely the main steps. And then the other thing is, I think what's the most important thing is switching your intention behind movement, because, again, that's the message that we've only been taught to exercise to lose weight. And a lot of people don't realize that exercise has all these amazing benefits that never get talked about. It improves your brain health, your bone, it makes you sleep better, it helps with stress. Of course, not too much exercise can do the opposite with stress, but improves your sex drive, like everything. There's all these amazing benefits that I certainly didn't know about. And so when I explain that, and I really get people to tune in to how exercise makes them feel rather than for how it makes you look. And I think once you switch your intention, that really is a key point in helping take that first step.
For sure. Oh my gosh. I just had like a memory of running. I had a Cameron Diaz moment like you. I would see a celebrity, and that was obviously thin. I remember at one point it was Jennifer Aniston. I read that she ran 6 miles every day. And I thought, well, that's what I have to do because I want to look like Jennifer Aniston, so I'm going to do what she's doing. And I hated it. I hate running. It's just not my thing. And I've tried it many times, but I think I hated it most when my intention was weight loss. And that
Yes.
connection to my reason for doing it was 100% to look like somebody else. And there have been times, obviously, when I was probably like 10, I probably ran around my neighborhood and it was fine because I was playing, you know, whatever the games you play, you know, tag and all that, all those fun games. We played this game, Goon Alarm. I can't even explain it. I'd have to have my sister explain it. But yeah, little games you play as a kid. And it incorporated running. But that was probably fine. I'm sure I'd enjoy running if I played Goon Alarm right now. I probably would be good at it. But yeah, finding that joy. I love how you talk about going back to your childhood and stuff. Because, yeah, doing stuff. You have a child. So, like, maybe you won't be doing toddler games and fitness fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I'm one of the only mums that's like, you know, running up the climbing frame with him and going down the side in the park. But no, it's funny you were saying about the game you play. I actually play one in my class, which is called the peg game. So what you do is you put pegs, you get like 6 or 7 pegs each per person, and you peg them all over your body. Like you can peg them on your shoelaces, which is a good trick actually, because that's really hard. And then what you do, you set a timer for like a minute, and then everyone has to chase each other and try and grab their pegs and then peg them on themselves. And the person that has the most pegs at the end is the winner. And that's like a really fun way that we incorporate a little bit of running. You don't even realize, and it's pretty gets your heart going for sure. But yeah, that's a really fun one to play as well. But yeah, that's it. It's fun. Just about getting back to your childhood and thinking, you know, what is it that I used to enjoy, and just you can incorporate that now. Like I love old sports day games, like we do like egg and spoon races and so much fun, and like relay and sack races. I love the sack races. Not so much now I've had a baby actually. It's not fun. But yeah, it's there's so many fun ways to move your body, and I think it's just once you sit down and kind of, you know, have a think about what it is that you used to enjoy and what you might enjoy now, and then just giving it a go, it really does. It just changes your relationship to movement.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, myself included, didn't equate fitness with fun. It was more as a means to counteract what you're eating and sometimes like punish yourself. So what strategies can you give to people that they ate something, air quotes, because nobody can see us right now, but air quotes, bad, something they had cake yesterday and they feel like, oh, I've got to burn that off. So what strategies do you give your clients for separating that and not moving their body for punishment?
I always try and get them to just always choose kindness over punishment. It's like, you know, is running going to be kind to myself right now? Because, you know, is it going to make me, you know, feel good? And of course, sometimes they say, well, yes, because, you know, I feel guilty. But I was trying to say, how would you feel about maybe doing a walk or something a little bit less gentle instead of something more punishing? And that usually can help. But I think it takes a lot of time to overcome that mindset. I think once they start understanding, you know, the impact of how exercising for punishment is doing to them mentally and physically as well, and how it's way more beneficial to move from a place of self-care and compassion, that they slowly start making those changes. Because a lot of people, I find, they just don't realize there is another way. I don't know if you've come across that. They're like, well, I've only known to exercise to lose weight or to earn or burn food. Like they just don't know there's another way. And once you tell them and go, well, no, there's this way, they're like, oh wow, I didn't even know I could do that. And I think that's a huge shift as well. But I think the most important thing is just always being kind to yourself and just asking yourself that question: am I being kind right now? What advice would I give to a friend? And then if they do choose to go for a run, and still being kind to themselves, to making that decision. Go, okay, maybe they weren't quite ready this time, but they might be ready the next time to try something different or to let themselves rest.
I love that advice about how you treat a friend, because I think we are much kinder to other people than to ourselves.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
So sad. Yeah. So how do you find the right movement, the right workout, however you want to call it, that's right for you?
So first of all, it's that quiz that I was saying to you about, writing down all those things that you used to enjoy as a child and what you think you would enjoy now, and choosing one thing to try, something that you feel, comfortable with. And then it's also jotting down things like your frequency and duration and intensity that you actually like as well, and then experimenting with that. And it's shifting your intention behind exercise. So it's starting to tune into your body. It's asking yourself these questions, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling tired? If I'm feeling tired, is it a good idea to move? It's like, well, maybe not, but I still want to do something. So what is it that I feel like doing? Do I want something that's going to energize me, or do I want something that's going to nourish me more? And just asking yourself those questions, just taking that moment to pause and say, what is it that I need? What is it that I want? What's going to benefit me? And even if it doesn't work straight away, it's just getting into that habit, because the more that you do it, you'll rewire your brain into asking yourself and tuning into your body, and just knowing again that excessive movement isn't going to be the most beneficial. If you're already feeling stressed, it's actually going to be worse for you. And just understanding that maybe a little dance party in your kitchen might be better, or just a stretch or a gentle walk around the block. And then once they start putting those things into place, then it's a lot easier to find the right exercise for them and their body. But it's definitely about experimenting. And the most important thing, it's about trusting themselves and listening to themselves, and not following, like you said about the Jennifer Aniston example, like not following anyone else's rule books, not following any other these fitness influencers that are telling you what to do. It's about doing what you want to do that works for your schedule, and knowing it's okay if you can't make it, because what, life gets in the way, especially if you've got kids, you might not be able to exercise, and knowing that that's okay if you didn't do it that week, and being kind to yourself.
So I'm going to ask you a question, but for the listeners, this is not for you to think that this is the workout for you. We always like to ask our guests what their favorite movement is, but this is for you listeners to have something, another choice, another option to experiment with. And this may not be my favorite workout. It may not be your favorite workout, but we love to know what your favorite way to move your body. And does it change daily? Does it change on different days?
It actually not really. Well, my favorite way to move my body, first off, is dancing. I absolutely love dancing around the living room and the kitchen and just singing. That is my absolute favorite. And I also really enjoy strength training as well. But it's funny because you're saying, does it change? But sometimes I will find that, if I'm really not wanting to do it, or like my motivation's changed, then I ask myself, am I still really enjoying this at the moment? And then most of the time it's because I'm not. So then that's when I know that I need to change it up, if that's to a different workout, to trying something new. So but yeah, definitely dancing, always dancing is my number one. And then strength training, and then I absolutely love being in nature. So nature walks, walking on the beach, like I just feel so at peace and so at home when I'm in nature. So I really enjoy that too.
So those are some great options that listeners can experiment with themselves and see if that's something that they'll enjoy. So we like to ask too, what is your favorite way to practice self-care?
I like this question. I have so many though.
That's okay. Share them all. Yeah. We all need some more ideas and options. Sometimes we get stuck in a rut.
I think as well, self-care can have a bit of a misconception that it's all just like bubble baths and manicures, which definitely play a role and which are lovely. But, self-care is really protecting yourself. It's protecting your boundaries. It's, putting yourself first and your needs first. It's listening to your body and honoring that. And for me, my non-negotiable self-care is taking an hour out for myself each day. I mean, an hour is quite generous. So if somebody's listening, thinking, well, I haven't got an hour, but I mean, even 5 minutes a day, just doing something just for you. So that's definitely my favorite thing. And I talked about nature walks. That's another one. That's definitely a form of self-care for me, and dancing, and also just learning to say no. That was a really big one for me. I used to be a massive people pleaser. I used to say yes to things all the time. And once I started putting those boundaries in and saying no, I'm just protecting my time and my energy. And that's something that can take a bit of time to practice, but it's just life-changing really, when you just start sticking up for yourself and looking after yourself.
Yeah, and I think you as a new mom, giving you that time to yourself is so important, because so many new moms that have older kids don't take that time for themselves,
Yeah.
and they feel that burnout from not having that self-care. So that's so important to take that
Yeah, that's what I
time.
was saying. Even if it's just 5 minutes, if it's just sitting on the sofa with a cup of tea, or one of my favorite things as well, sometimes just to lie in a dark room with the fan on and my son's white noise machine,
Yeah,
just for 5 minutes, and just like, oh, just peace. But yeah, it really does make a difference to your physical and mental well-being, just to take that time out if you
for
can,
sure.
and try and prioritize it, because yeah, you need to look after yourself first, as a priority, before you can look after anyone else.
Yes, so true. So I know that you are a fairly new mom. How old is your son?
He's 20 months.
20 months. So, yeah, I stopped counting the months. 2.5 years is Nico. I
Yeah.
can't do the math anymore. So, as a new mom, I don't know if you get time, if you have time, and you're in a slightly different place than here in the U.S. with lockdowns and whatnot, because I know that you have no cases where you are right now. But what what if any binge-worthy shows have you watched? We like to know, because many of our guests have been watching really interesting things during 2020, this past year or so, because they've had, the ability to. They've been locked down at home. So is there anything that you watched this year that you found very
Yes,
fascinating or interesting?
I really got into Firefight Lane. Did you see that one?
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's
have to look
really
that one
good.
up.
I really did binge watch that one. So yeah, I definitely, my Netflix time is yeah, when Bryn goes to bed, I love chilling and watching Netflix, and that can totally be your self-care as well, if that's something. But I also watched Ginny and Georgia. That was quite good. I binge watched that one on Netflix just recently. So yeah, they're the two that come to the top of my head
Well,
that
I
I've
will,
just
I will
watched.
add them to my list. And then, do you have any favorite music? Now, you did mention you like to dance. So, is
Yes.
there any favorite song right now, or artist, or just genre of music that just inspires you
um,
to want to dance more?
Motown. I
Oh,
love Motown
wow.
music. It's my absolute favorite. So you'll always find me dancing to Motown.
Oh, wow. That I did not expect. So I'll have to add some every time I hear someone's favorite music, especially when it's something dance related. I have to add songs to my playlist in my studio. Some of the ladies are going to get very excited to that I'm going to add some Motown. Some won't know what Motown
Yeah.
is.
Well, there's
So
a
we'll
really good
see.
playlist. Do you have Spotify? Do you use
No,
Spotify?
I use Apple. So
I use Apple. Oh, there's one called Soul Workout on Spotify, which is just all like Motown upbeat music. So that's really fun.
oh, I'll have to look that up. I do have a Spotify account, so I'll look that up. But I thank you so much for joining today and sharing your journey, because it's, sometimes it's hard to share these these experiences, but I know it will help people. I know your mission is to really change the narrative of fitness and diet culture. So I know that we together can start spreading this message. And I know that many listeners will relate to your story and your journey and the great strategies that you provide to help heal relationship with exercise, with food. And I'll put all of your information in the show notes so you can connect with Shreen and see what she's doing in Australia. And now that, I think one good thing that came from this year is that more and more people are going online and
Yeah.
connecting more, and maybe someone can work out with you from anywhere in the world, even though you're in Australia. So I thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if you have anything else to share that you'd like to.
So I just say thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
It was great connecting, and thank you again. And that's this week's episode. So that was my interview with Shreen. I hope you connected with her story, with her journey, and that the strategies that she shared will help you possibly heal your relationship with food, your relationship with exercise, and ultimately your relationship with yourself. To connect with Shreen, be sure to go to her page on the Breaking Body Biases website, where we not only have each episode, but show notes, transcripts, and a way to connect with each of our guests. Many of the resources that Shreen mentioned in the episode are on our resources page too. And if you have any questions for Shreen or past guests, future guests, myself, be sure to use that new feature on our website where you can leave a voicemail, ask your questions, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And if you could take a minute, rate and review our show, share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. We so appreciate it, and it helps our show to grow. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll have a brand new episode for you next week.